So welcome to this ROV chat. Today, Stephen and I are going to talk about how meditation in the West has been stripped of much of its spiritual power and effectiveness by disregarding subtle energy practices. And as an example of that, Stephen's going to begin with a quote from Padmasambhava in the 8th century in traditional Tibetan Buddhism. And so let's start with that, Stephen.
Thank you, Kevin, and much love and blessings to everybody. Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things about the ancient traditions and many of the modern traditions and the practices that Kevin and I are doing is that we've found so much similarity between the practices, the Perth Instructions, the ancient traditions, and what was recommended by Padmasambhava. In this case, to Yeshe Tsogyal, who was his consort at the time and who was his most advanced practitioner. And in fact, she brought a lot of these practices through her autobiographies and descriptions of her teachings from Padmasambhava. So it's a very beautiful practice indeed. So in this, Padmasambhava says to Yeshe Tsogyal, so if you can imagine the master sitting there with his student and she's listening, and he says to her, straighten your body. So you can even do this as you're listening. Straighten your body and rest your hands in the mudra of equipoise, or touching the earth. And then he says, extend your shoulders. So you've got a wonderful straight posture. And then imagine a light at your heart and another light at the perineum, and also lights at the crown of your head, so that you get this feeling of this channel running straight up through the body. Then he says, in the center of your body, imagine a straight, erect channel. And imagine a single point of light at the base of the spine. In the space above your crown, you imagine either a guru or a master or a mentor, or even intangible light, glowing, smiling, bringing love and compassion. And then you lift your eyes upward and you rest your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and you draw the light up through the central channel. And then he goes on to instruct Yeshe Tsogyal in how to draw the light up 7 times to the navel, 7 times to the heart, 7 times to the throat, 7 times to the space between the eyebrows, and 7 times to the crown, to join the light there. And then on that last time, you imagine the crown opening like a flower, and the light that you've been drawing up and down the spine emerging to join the master or the guru or the intangible light or the love in union. And then you rest above the crown for a period of time, and then allow this light to descend back down the spine, to rest down in the heart, down in the navel, within the central channel. So the central channel is literally glowing with this pure awareness. So that is the description from Padmasambhava to Yeshe Tsogyal, and it's a very beautiful one, and it brings us directly home to this practice of subtle energy in meditation, and also how really crucial and important the movement of energy, awakening the energy, being aware of vital points, being aware of posture, being aware of breath, and being aware of the winds and nadis and chakras or energy centers, and how important the energy was to meditation for this whole process of entering into the stillness and silence and spacious awareness. So always these practices of subtle energy awareness preceded the practice of really deep, stabilized stillness. So thank you, Kevin. I think it's a really beautiful example of how, balanced the practices are, bringing focused awareness and then into open awareness of stillness and silence, and also how important they were in all the practices that were done.
I think it's amazing to hear that from the 8th century, and it's not just in that tradition. We have those kind of practices in Kriya Yoga, in Qigong, and we find them throughout the East as a way of priming the body, heart, and mind for deeper states of meditation. And somehow when meditation came over to the West, it was stripped of all those practices, and it became, like mindfulness-based stress reduction is today. It's been stripped of all those energetic qualities. Perhaps they thought nobody would understand subtle energy, it wouldn't relate to it. There isn't a tradition of prana or chi or life force. But by taking out all those preliminary and priming aspects, we really lose a lot of the spiritual force and effectiveness of the techniques. We don't get that feeling of connection to the essence of who we are and connection to all of life that you get when you experience and feel the life force within. And you also don't get that in the West, we are so much in the thinking mind and so identified with thinking. And these practices really tune us into feeling these, as you said, the subtle winds, the subtle energies, and that activates a whole different part of our consciousness. When we're absorbed in that, the thinking mind just recedes to the background. You don't have to make an effort at trying to quiet the mind or trying to relate to the thoughts differently, because we're so absorbed in these sensations of subtle energy that occupies the full scope of attention, and thinking is just gone. The mind is quiet. And when the mind is quiet, we are not identified with thoughts. The transition from that absorption in energy to stillness, silence, and spaciousness is effortless. It's just a natural flow. And from that into even deeper states of pure awareness, again, just happens as a natural flow out of that experience of subtle energy. So I think, a lot of times people in the West don't really ever get to those exquisite inner states. They're just happy if they can relax a little or de-stress a little, but they have no idea that meditation could be so much more, could take us beyond our conceptions of ourselves, beyond our thoughts, beyond this feeling that we are the body or the egoic consciousness, because we realize that we are this subtle energy.
Yeah, I truly agree. I think the the majority of times then when people are working with subtle energies and meditation generally, one of the crucial questions we've been asked over time is, how do I let go? I get to the point where I've done these techniques for a long time, and how do I let go and enter these deeper states of absorption, jhanas, higher awareness practices, deeper states of consciousness, and so on. And I've been on for quite some time a retreat with Mingyur Rinpoche, a Dzogchen retreat, and he constantly refers to this process of the body, first of all, the importance of preparing the body, and then the importance of preparing the subtle energies, and then the mind. And then when you've done all that, and it drops away effortlessly, just as you said, as a process of nature. So when you do the body postures, and there's a lot of preliminaries, it doesn't matter which of the ancient practices you look at, there are actually a lot of physical preliminaries, preparation of the body, getting the body ready so that when you do sit, you don't fall asleep, you don't slump, so there's a lot of body preparation. And some of the people on the retreat have asked him things like, oh, there's this stance, a Vajra stance. How long do I hold it? And he said, basically until you collapse. And then, of course, he chuckles, and because but he says in the times that he's been on retreat, they were held to that point, because you want the mind to let go. And one of the first parts of that process is the body, working the body through to that level of almost exhaustion, where it just has to let go. You just can't hold on anymore. And then it goes into the subtle energy. You raise the subtle energy, move the subtle energy deep, so that the winds, instead of being dispersed and distracted and conflicted and obstructed, they're all brought into the central channel. And then just like the body, you start to work with the central channel until the central channel is really truly grooved, so that there is a pure flow of awareness within the breath and the central channel. And then you go through the mind and you search for any remaining identity, and you search within the mind until you only find pure awareness. So it's quite a similar process with body, subtle energy, mind, in the way that they do it in that particular tradition, because they follow a very clear process, so that when you finally do sit in a long practice, maybe for some hours, or in some case a retreat of some days even, that your mind, your body has actually let go, and that there is no longer, so there is no awareness of the body, that body consciousness has vanished, and there's no awareness of the separate identity, because that too has vanished. And the subtle energy has acted as a bridge between these to help assist, because that's where I think the winds and channels and nadis and chakras and meridians in the body perform such a deep function towards centering. If you think about it, center and balance, if you feel subtle energies in the body that are not centered and balanced, then they're going to pull you off balance in your practice. You're going to be aware of a ache or a tension or a shift here or a headache there or pain here, and there'll be an element of distraction to your practice. But when you truly center and bring everything in to a balance, then there is a harmony, and there is an effortless and a natural part of this process.
And there's a natural progression from movement and energization to aligned posture to integrated energy flow. And then energy flow is that bridge into still, silent, spacious awareness and into pure awareness. And then coming out of the state, it's like reversing those layers, right? We're coming back and we're sensing the energy in the body and sensing the body itself and sensing the posture and coming back into the environment. So there's a seamless transition into a wider awareness. and then an integration of that wider awareness through subtle energy, through the body into everyday consciousness, so that there is that integration of meditation with life.
Mm.
And isn't that the purpose of it all? So we can be more kind and compassionate and aware and present in life. So I want to thank you, Stephen, for this discussion, this chat on subtle energy and how important it is to, as a foundation for the spiritual empowerment and effectiveness of meditation.
Thank you, Kevin, too. Truly, I think it's such a both a vast and incredibly profound subject that it does bring. The subtle energy acts as a bridge to that spiritually effortless, natural, and very deep, pure awareness. It's part of us all. That is, we're never ever separate from.
We are that.
We certainly are that. So thank you indeed. Lots of love and blessings to everybody.
Yes. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your practice.